Welcome in to the 48 Minutes Podcast on Believe. I'm Ross Geiger, the former NBA video coordinator, and I'm joined alongside Bruce Bernstein, our four-time Emmy Award winner who spent more than 3 decades at ESPN producing NBA shows, SportsCenter, and soaking up knowledge from the best hoop analysts in the business. Also joining us is the 2-time Emmy Award winner, Michael World B. Freer, who's a senior writer at Stat Factor, specializing in writing advanced statistical NBA reports for various announcers across the league. This is episode number 228, the Rui Hachimura episode, as Rui currently wears number 28 as a member of the Los Angeles Lakers, a team we might be talking about here in just a few minutes. So with that, let's go ahead and get right into this week's 48 Minutes Weekend Preview. And on Friday night, we've got the Joker and the Denver Nuggets visiting the Thunder and OKC. This very well could be this year's Western Conference Finals matchup, Bruce.
Well, when Nikola Jokic returned from his injury on January 30th, he led the Nuggets to a win, and that pushed their record to 33-16. But since that win, the Nuggets are just 3-6, okay? Now, Joker has played out of his mind, but other than Jamal Murray, nobody else is really putting up numbers for those guys. So when Joker matches up with Chet Holmgren and Isaiah Hartenstein on Friday, he's going to still get his numbers, but he is going to have to work really hard to get them. OKC, well, they've had a rough stretch of their own. They had 2 tough games this week prior to OKC, Toronto on Tuesday, Detroit on Wednesday. But until the Thunder get SGA and Jalen Williams back and doing their thing, they aren't really the Thunder. So I'm going to take Denver on the road on Friday.
All right, World B.
Well, it really comes down to this. Which Denver team are we going to see? Are we going to see the team that was at a rest disadvantage against the Blazers the other night and beat them by 54 points? Yeah. Or are we going to see the team that blew fourth quarter leads when they lost to the Rocket or the Clippers and the Warriors last week? So it's really which you want to back this team because they're getting healthier, they're starting to have all their players, especially when Cam Johnson back, and their lineup. They have one of the best starting fives in the league, at least offensively. I don't trust their defense. Haven't for a while now. They're just not a very good defensive team. And Bruce is right. We're not seeing the real Thunder when you're starting backcourt, an all-star starting backcourt of SGA and Jalen Williams are on the sidelines with injuries. Their offense is really suffering without them. But then you watch them put up 21 threes the other night in a win over Cleveland, when they were shorthanded, shooting over 50% from three. So the big thing for them is we're going to see Chet and Isaiah Hartenstein continue to be on the court together. And that team, I know they're without their backcourt, as we mentioned, but those two guys on the court together, they're outscoring opponents by over 20 points per 100 possessions. We saw them play a little bit last year together. Now we're seeing a lot more, over 900 minutes for the season. And I think that's going to be a reason. Plus, they're playing at home. I still trust the Thunder in the big moments, the big games like this. They're going to come away with the win.
All right. Well, believe it or not, we're at the end of February here, and this is only the second time all season that these two teams have faced off, with the Thunder winning the first meeting 121-111. Now, given the Thunder's current set of injuries, as you guys both alluded to here, OKC has continued to pick up the defensive pressure with hopes that the defensive stops can help them get out and transition to find open three-point shooters, as they did against the Cavs the other day in that big-time home win. But in this one, I like the Joker and Jamal Murray to control the tempo. The Nuggets are also equipped with the defensive wings needed to run OKC shooters off that three-point line, because they're living and dying by the three right now without their stars out there. Isaiah Joe, Jamal McCain, some other guys getting involved there. I like Denver to notch a big road win here. I think we're going to see the Denver team we saw in Portland that you pointed out, World B. I think Joker's going to be too much to handle for the Thunder this time around. Now, moving on to Saturday night, we've got LeBron and the Lakers visiting Steph Curry and the Warriors in the Bay, Bruce. How do you think this Western Conference matchup will fare?
The Lakers are so weird. I mean, they've managed to have a very good record, even though at times they look like a team with a crappy record. When they lost at home by 28 to the Spurs a little over 2 weeks ago, their starting lineup looked like a G League team. But playing the Spurs and the Warriors these days are totally different deals. With apologies to Dub Nation, Golden State's championship window has closed. Steph Curry will fall short of 65 games played, so he's not going to be all NBA for the 13th time in 14 seasons. Kristaps Porzingis was a desperation pickup, okay? Draymond Green still has his moments, but he's lost several miles an hour off his fastball, okay? But maybe the sight of LeBron will rile him up, but I doubt it. Lakers are a solid road team, so I've got LA.
All right, will be.
Bruce is exactly right. Figure the Lakers out if you can, because I can't. 12 games over 500, and they're getting outscored in net efficiency. I mean, that's unbelievable. They're getting 12 games over 500, and to be outscored in efficiency is ridiculous. Part of the reason is they've lost 8 games by 20 or more points. I mean, there's a team at 20, 30, 12 games over 500, and they have 8 of their losses by 20 plus. The reason they've been the record the way they are is because they're best team in the clutch. They're like 15-3 in the clutch, so that's how it balances out or whatever. Yeah, they've only had Luka and LeBron and Austin Reeves together for 12 games all season. Now they're 8-4 with those guys in the lineup, which is good, but they're getting outscored when they're on the court together by like 10 points per 100 possessions. It's just Bruce is right. They're a weird team to figure out, and as far as Golden State goes, you figure with all their injuries to Steph and Jimmy Butler, you figure, well, they're just going to play the string out, see if they can somehow squeak into the play-in, and then they go and beat the Nuggets, one of the best teams in the West. It's just, really ridiculous. Put up a big monster efficiency number on Denver. Obviously, I mentioned Denver's defense is suspect, but for me, I'm going to take Golden State because I just don't know what I'm getting from the Lakers from day to day.
Yeah, that's a good point there, World B. And just so you guys know, the season series is tied up at 1 game apiece, but the important factor in this is both of the first 2 meetings this season have taken place in Los Angeles. So this will be the first time the Lake Show visit the Dubs in the Bay. But despite all that, I've got the Lakers taking the road victory. The Lakers just have too much firepower. I know we haven't figured it out yet, but with the likes of Luka, LeBron, and Austin Reeves, I like them to get the job done here on Saturday night. Now, moving on to Sunday, we got a big-time game in the Big Apple as Wemby makes his one and only visit to Madison Square Garden to face off against World B's New York Knicks. World B, I'll let you lead us off on this one. We know what Wemby did last time he was in New York playing the Knicks. That was on Christmas Day where he dropped 42 points. How do you think the Knicks can handle him this time around?
That's a good question. Not too many players can handle. Not too many teams can handle Wemby. He's just an amazing player. Spurs on a 9-game winning streak, and that through Monday's win over Detroit, and all 9 wins by at least 9 points. That's really impressive. I mean, they had an impressive season. They might be hitting their peak right now as far as how good they really are. At this point in the season, they're beating all the good teams. They've won the last 7 against teams that are over 500. That's pretty impressive too. Everything about them is impressive. The Spurs, they're 15-3, against the teams from the Eastern Conference. And one of the big reasons is you mentioned Wemby. He's just becoming more of a force in the paint now. He has such ability from the perimeter. We know his height and his ability, but he's so good in the paint is where he should be the majority of the time. And now he's starting to do that. And the results are obviously what they are. I mean, for me, for the Knicks, it's last week they caught the Houston Rockets at a bad time when their offense wasn't clicking here in Houston. The Spurs will be playing their fourth road game on a 5-game road trip. That's really, hopefully, from a Knicks perspective, they're catching the Spurs at the wrong time or at a bad time for them, if you will. The Knicks are 22-8 at home. They're a much different team than when they play on the road. The game's in Madison Square Garden. There's no reason to take the Knicks in this matchup, but I'll take the Knicks.
All right. What a homer pick there. I love it. Bruce?
It wasn't hard. I took the scenic route to get to where you knew where you were going.
It's not that much of a stretch to say this is a potential NBA Finals matchup. You have the veteran team with New York against an upstart group, younger guys for the Spurs. It's also a rematch of the NBA Cup championship won by the Knicks back in mid-December. Cat and Mitchell Robinson combined for 26 rebounds in that game, and the Knicks pounded the Spurs on the boards, 59-42. Now, that game didn't count against either team's one-loss record, but since that game, the Spurs have continued to play 700 ball, and we're going to talk a little bit more about Karl-Anthony Towns in a minute, at least I am, but his matchup with Wemby is going to be fascinating. Will Cat challenge Victor down low, or is he going to just settle for threes? If he stays outside, his rebound numbers could be lower, and that's going to be a problem for the Knicks. It's an ABC game on Sunday, 1 o'clock Eastern time, so the eyes of the entire basketball world are going to be on this game. If San Antonio comes away with a win in a game where everyone is healthy for both teams like this, the world is going to have to believe that the Spurs can win it all, and I'm taking the Spurs on Sunday.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Bruce. I've got to go with the Spurs winning this one behind yet another epic performance by Wemby inside Madison Square Garden. We know it's going to be a star-studded crowd, big event. We saw what the Spurs did on Monday night, as World B pointed out, beating the Pistons in Detroit. They are really rolling, 9 straight wins. They are beating it pretty much anyone in front of them right now, and I think this is just going to be another nice challenge for them to take on here at the Garden on Sunday on primetime television. So should be a lot of fun. Now, last week, we each picked a team to watch down the stretch. So now it's time to focus in on a player to watch down the stretch. So, Bruce, we'll let you start us off here. Who's a player you're looking out for the rest of the way?
In spite of the fact that the Pistons have handled the Knicks pretty well this season, I feel like New York still has a legitimate chance to make the finals. But the only way that's happening is if Karl-Anthony Towns becomes more of a force than he's been up until now. Cat is an incredible talent, but sometimes I feel like he's a bit too laid back in his approach and especially in his body language. He can put up numbers in his sleep because he's just so talented, but can he dial up the intensity in a productive way? Yeah, he can be intense when he's whining about calls, but that needs to be applied to his work on the defensive end as well. Jalen Brunson is the emotional engine on that team. Mikal Bridges, Josh Hart, Jose Alvarado are all intense guys too. But if Cat decides he really is going to push himself at the defensive end like his teammates do, I could see the Knicks rolling into the finals. And oh, by the way, do you think Mike Brown likes Alvarado more than Jordan Clarkson? Clarkson's photo should be on the side of a milk carton ever since Alvarado's joined that team.
Yeah, I think Mike Brown likes playing Grand Theft Alvarado is one of the things I've seen there. So World B doesn't look like he's a fan there. So we'll move on, World B, and I'll go let you talk about the player you got your eye on the rest of the way.
Yeah, I'm looking at LaMelo Ball of the Charlotte Hornets. You know, since the calendar turned 2026, the Hornets have become a serious player in the NBA playoff picture here. They've worked their way to the fourth best record in the league since the beginning of January, 16-8. And LaMelo Ball is the engine that drives this team. You know, if the Hornets are going to become a really a serious player in the Eastern Conference the rest of the way, he's going to have to be the guy that leads them. We know Brandon Miller's healthy and having a great year. We know about Con Knipple challenging for Rookie of the Year. But the team goes the way Melo goes. He has the highest on-court offensive efficiency rating in the NBA. That's not on Denver. Denver players have like the top 4. That's how good they are. And then after that, it's LaMelo Ball. The Hornets average almost 123 points per 100 possessions when he's on the court. And when he and Brandon Miller and Con Knipple are on the court together, that efficiency goes up to like over 135 per 100 possessions. It's unbelievable, his impact on his team. Now, we know he has a reputation for being out of control, especially at the offensive end, but his shots are down about 4 per game this year. He's more engaged on defense. He seems to be buying into everything that head coach Charles Lee is trying to sell on his team. It's working. They're one of the best teams since January. And, you know, I go back to last week when they played really close games. They lost them both to the Rockets and the Cavaliers. And when he was on the court, Charlotte outscored both those teams by 17 points combined over 58 minutes. In the 38 minutes where he was on the bench, the Hornets were outscored by 26. I know his reputation is not the greatest in the league among fans or whatever, but I think it's not fair reputation. And if they're going to get anywhere the rest of the season, he's going to be the guy.
Yeah, he definitely is going to have to play a major part of the Hornets' success moving forward. Totally agree there. Now, for my guy, I'm keeping an eye on Evan Mobley of the Cleveland Cavaliers. Mobley has just returned to action for the Cavs this past Thursday after missing the team's previous 7 games due to a left calf injury. And getting the reigning Defensive Player of the Year, not just back up and running at full strength, but gelled with James Harden, is going to be imperative to the Cleveland Cavaliers' chances come time for the playoffs. They're a team that we've kind of lost sight of given their struggles this year. But with Harden aboard, there seems to be a little bit more fresh life with this group, along with Evan Mobley returning to the floor with them. So the short-term outlook on Mobley's ramp-up period, as we like to call it, isn't going to be an easy one when looking at the Cavs' next 5 games. They play the Pistons twice. They then have the Nets on the road, and then they host the Celtics and the 76ers. So it's going to be quite a tough stretch here in the next 5. But what Jared Allen's doing down low has been really solid. He's been holding down the fort in the paint for this Cleveland team, averaging 7 double-doubles in his last 8 games. But Mobley's getting involved down there is a must-need if the Cavaliers want to differentiate themselves out east and compete among the likes of the Pistons, the Celtics, the Knicks. So he's going to play a major factor in that, and they need him to arrive on the scene sooner rather than later coming back from this injury. Now, with that will do it for this edition of the 48 Minutes Podcast by Believe. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back with you next week to be sure you're up to date in 48 on all things around the association. Have a great weekend, everybody.